Hey guys, my name is Mandy, and I just wanted to create a video today, touch base, because wow, our world and the baseline of what was normal has changed so much. And with that, there's a huge burden on each of us to be able to process and keep up, not only emotionally and mentally, but physically too. And I don't think there's enough discourse right now happening about mental health and mental well-being. And as someone who, has made it their mission to help support and nourish others, I've been noticing in myself almost a tendency toward brokenness lately. And it's come from just too much stress, too much, almost like a weight of depression too, knowing the state of the world. And at the end of it, just not optimistic nor conducive thoughts in general about my state of life, which is honestly very good. I don't have anything to complain about. However, being very stressed, I found that, I'm more irritable and more likely to just start stuff with people in my life whom are so amazing, and in many regards I don't deserve them because they'll put up with, these emotional upsets when they really don't have to. But they've been helping me through it, and if I didn't have this emotional support to be able to keep doing everything I'm doing, which is working full-time and going to school and working on side businesses and projects which I'm trying to make come alive, and helping apply for grants for my family's farm and everything else like that, I don't think I would be as well off. And I know a lot of people don't have this level of social support too. So really, more than anything, this video is just checking in, and it's being really honest and authentic because, I'm guilty of it too. I don't post enough about times when it's hard. I think one of the last few videos, it was another hard moment, so maybe there hasn't been a lot of content since then. But in general, with recipes and life and everything else, it's just okay. It's normally highlighting the good stuff. So what I can say with this, friends, is 2020 has been a really tough year. And to be on this planet, to be here, honestly, you have to be a warrior. You had to have chosen to go through a lot of growth in a really short period of time. And I don't think the majority of us really understood all that entailed. I'm getting into another conversation of the possibility of us actually choosing to incarnate, which I do believe. But that aside, I just want to affirm that if you're here, you are a warrior. And it's not easy, especially with the level of mental health disorders that are rampant in our world. It really upsets me to an extent, honestly, the lack of sisterhood that exists. Particularly, I'm seeing so many females who they're just destroying themselves to be able to look a certain way, to be able to, be attractive in a very small perception of what's portrayed to be very beautiful and attractive. And they're living in very disconnected ways, and honestly cutting themselves off from the opportunity to connect not only with their femininity and womanhood in general and the beauty and the grace that accompanies that, but with just sisters in their life in general. And so there's sadness about that. Obviously the world is burning right now. There's many issues like pedophilia coming more to light, and I think now obesity has surpassed malnutrition. Obviously it's not an awesome time, but at the same time, it's never really been an awesome time on planet Earth. We have to really pay attention to where our attention is going. Where is our focus lingering in our day-to-day activities? And are we striving to develop healthy habits so that we can actually shift through these things and keep our nervous systems grounded? Or is it a matter of only being stimulated by negative news, essentially, or media news in general? And, only negativity of people in our social circles. So we're in a very interesting time, and it feels like most people are still in resonance with negativity because that's the state of the world. However, acknowledging that the world is always crazy, and there always has to be contrast in order for life itself to exist. Without darkness, we wouldn't have light. Without major sacrifice, such as the burning of a field, we wouldn't have fertilizer for things to grow out of it as well. Life in itself is very messy. It's very painful. It is so hard to swallow when you sit with the depth of what it is. And that's really where I've been lately. My grandma died last week. This year, we moved, got married a week before my grandma died, had to deal with court, obviously the pandemic, my partner was laid off. There's been so much, and throughout most of it, I felt very confident and just being like, I'm gonna get through this, I'm super healthy. But as I mentioned before, the past few weeks, I'm noticing a bit of an unraveling, and really the antidote to that is being willing to address it, being willing to sit with the uncomfortable, and being willing to actually say what needs to be said as well. Even if it's not actually right, sometimes our psyche needs to express in order to be able to process. And that's why that social support and having people who are going to be there too and not run off when you're working through various thoughts and emotions is so important. So obviously this is a one-way video, but my hope is that with all the clients I help and just readers in general, they feel like they have somewhat of a support system, at least through Life in Bloom, and at least through who I am as a person. You can always write me and I'll write you back. And I have a lot of empathy for people because I see how much suffering is going on. So just know that if you're watching that. The other thing that I've really been aware of lately is lack of healthy female leadership as well too. We see some female leaders, and I like to point out Alexandria Cortez as well, because she's wonderful and she's young and she has a voice and she's using it and she's doing it in a very respectful way. But in comparison with some of the other people I actually listen to who get most of my attention, like John Oliver or Joe Rogan or even Russell Brand to an extent, who, yeah, all these guys are kind of off the charts, but at the same time, they're just speaking their truth, and they're just meeting people where they are and helping to just highlight what it is to be human. And I don't really see any good female leaders in modern world in that way. I mean, I'll give kudos to Teal Swan, but she's still more in like the spiritual realm. And really what I'm seeking and looking for is someone to help be the bridge between a lot of the negativity that exists, and a lot of the clashing perspectives, I guess, on what is possible. And maybe that's to an extent because, women are going through their own thing in terms of the Me Too movement, and, I have my own stories to share with that. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's a facet of all there is to discuss. And I'm just hoping that there's more honest dialogue, more authenticity, and more vulnerability. Vulnerability is huge because it literally is the bridge of connection. When we feel defensive, when we feel angry, when we feel hurt, when we feel sad, tired, all these things, it's like there's this natural desire to just put up a wall or have a shell around ourselves, sorry about that, and keep the world out. That's something I'm very familiar with, being Cancer Leo. But everything I've learned over the years is the only thing we do is we just hold on to it even longer. To be vulnerable is to sit with it and to feel the full weight of it and to allow it to pass through the body and to have to accept it as well. And accepting is really where the work is done, and so much of the pain, because it challenges the ideals that we've formed in our mind, and obviously it's uncomfortable. But vulnerability in itself, when we allow the heart to break open, that's when there can be connection, because there can't be any without the heart being open either. And so the more that we as humans can just let go of all of the bullshit and just see each other for what we are and who we are, and really work to heal the traumas within ourselves, the traumas that have been passed down, and so many of the prejudices that have been taught, we will get better. We will heal ourselves of so many of the mental sicknesses which are fueling physical and emotional and environmental discord on this planet. And yeah, I've been listening a lot to David Goggins, and I have a lot of attention given to strengthening the mind, and I've always been someone who adheres to a no excuses mentality. And for some people, I suppose that can be kind of damaging, but ultimately, it just comes down to the understanding that each of us is responsible for ourselves. And it's always going to be better when we can go through life together, but we each have a lot of healing and a lot of growth to go through, and none of us can fully be ready to support others until we love and are ready to support ourselves, and we see that so many people have unhealthy relationships with themselves because they are unhealthy as well. They feed their body crap, they don't talk to themselves nicely, they stay up way too late and they don't get enough sleep, they don't make their own health and well-being a priority. And as a result, they typically are more irritable because they don't feel good. And when they're more irritable, they're more likely to take that out on other people, and then the cycle perpetuates and it goes on and on and on. On top of that, there's all this baggage that each of us has, even if we work so hard not to have it. And it stems from how we were parented to even ancestral trauma that we carry within our bodies. And, each of us has bullshit. And so there's no point in trying to blame anyone. Really, if you are here and if you're in your body and you are a participant on planet Earth, you owe it to yourself and your family and your friends and ultimately society as a whole, in my opinion, to work through your shit. And if you do, it'll get better. Because you'll see how you were the one limiting yourself from being happy. You were the one who was causing, just through your thoughts, disconnection in so many different levels. And I full-heartedly agree with David Goggins. Like, we have a lot of conditioning to do. Most people are weak, but different from his approach, I also have a lot of compassion for where people are too. So I think that there has to be enough attention given to just holding space with trauma as well. To give attention to wounds. It's so painful. As a Reiki master therapist, I literally feel the energy when someone is focusing on something painful, and it feels like glass is breaking, and it's just holding that feeling essentially. And as you allow the glass to break, you allow the wound to actually be created. But once it's created, it's like the injury that's just waiting, that's just hovering to actually be executed within the physical plane goes away. And then it becomes a matter of making peace with the experience, and then also coaching the body and the mind through the understanding that it's just a scratch. And we each heal. We all heal. So if you can have the grace to sit with yourself and be that coach right now during this really difficult time, or to have the strength to be vulnerable and open up with what's going on, it'll get better. You'll probably have a really big, ugly cry. I have had several today. But honestly, friends, it's the only way. It's the only way to heal. It's the only way to reconnect with who you are and wipe your lenses clean of the fog which society has created on all of our glasses, essentially. Now is the time more than ever before. I feel like these past few decades, starting with the 80s health trend, we've just been practicing and preparing for the work that we have to do. And with so much being unveiled and so much coming to light and all this pain that we are sifting through, it's just now. It has to be now. And I am here with you, and I empathize, and I just want you to know that you are supported. And please don't forget that you have support of another nature as well. So even if you're not a believer in God, the universe, source consciousness, which stems from pure light and loving consciousness, wants to support and hold and love you and help your path in life be less difficult by helping you live in alignment with flow. And flow I sort of think of as the river of life. And oftentimes we can get caught up trying to cling on to the bank and be like, no, I'm going to stay here. I work so hard for this thing right over there. But in reality, one of the only constants of the universe is change, and you can't fight it. If you fight it, you will create more suffering. That goes back to the philosophy of Buddha. You know, expectation is the root of all suffering. And so we must accept, and we must let go, and we must be willing to fold in the challenging and more turbulent times of the river, but know that if we trust in that flow, we will be held. And most importantly, we have to ask for that support. I 100% believe we each have guides and angels, and that there are so many high vibrational and loving light beings, including elementals of a very high vibrational nature which we cannot see, but they're with all of us. And so whether or not you believe, it can't hurt to ask. You can just ask for support with whatever it is you're dealing with right now, and I feel like you will receive that. So I love you guys. I know that this is such an intense year, but I'm so confident we'll all make it through it as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to your social circles though, and be willing to look at yourself with an authentic eye. Be willing to get clarity on just events in your life and who you are, and also be willing to have your mind changed. If we're not open-minded, then we are blocking ourselves off from beautiful change, which can result in so many different occurrences in our life. So, yeah. Namaste, friends. Be well.